The rain was coming down in sheets as I stared out the window of my small apartment in Seattle. I'd always loved the rain, found it calming, a balm to the soul. But tonight it felt like the sky was weeping for me. My name is Lionel, and until a week ago I was a reasonably happy man. I'm 44 and work as a software developer for a mid-sized tech company. I had a beautiful wife, a comfortable home in the suburbs, and a life that, while not perfect, was pretty damn good. My wife, Coralia, was everything I thought I wanted. She was a vibrant, energetic woman with a sharp wit and a dazzling smile. We'd met at a coffee shop downtown 10 years ago, and I was instantly smitten. We married 2 years later in a small ceremony surrounded by family and close friends. Life was good, or so I believed. The first crack in our seemingly perfect facade appeared subtly. Coralia, a marketing manager at a large firm, started working late more often. Initially, I didn't think much of it. Her job was demanding and she was ambitious. I supported her career, always encouraging her to pursue her dreams. But the late nights became more frequent and her explanations grew vaguer. Just a big campaign launch, Lionel. You know how it is, she'd say with a weary smile. I wanted to believe her, but something felt off. Her phone, which used to be constantly buzzing with texts and calls from friends, was now guarded like a state secret. She'd clutch it tightly, turning away if I so much as glanced in her direction. One evening, about a month ago, Coralia told me she had to go to a conference in Portland for a few days. "It's really important for my career, Lionel. I'll miss you, but it's a great opportunity," she said, kissing me goodbye. I helped her pack, feeling a pang of loneliness as she drove away. That was the beginning of the end. While she was supposedly at her conference, I decided to surprise her by cleaning out the garage. It had become a dumping ground for old boxes, forgotten tools, and general clutter. As I was sorting through a pile of old documents, I stumbled upon a small, locked box. It was one of those decorative boxes you might find at a craft store, the kind with a simple latch and a tiny padlock. Curiosity got the better of me. I'm not proud of it, but I had to know what was inside. I grabbed a small screwdriver and carefully pried open the latch. Inside, nestled amongst some old photographs and trinkets, was a burner phone. My heart pounded in my chest. A burner phone. What could Coralia possibly need a burner phone for? I hesitated for a moment, then powered it on. It was password protected, but after a few attempts, I managed to guess her code. Our anniversary date. The phone sprang to life, revealing a string of text messages and photos that shattered my world. The messages were from a man named Albin. They were explicit, intimate, and filled with a passion that I hadn't seen from Coralia in years. Photos accompanied the text, photos of Coralia and Albin together, laughing, kissing, and holding each other close. They were taken in various locations, including what looked like a hotel room. My stomach churned. The conference in Portland. It was all a lie. She was with him. I scrolled through the messages, each one a fresh stab to the heart. They talked about their secret rendezvous, their burning desire, and their unbreakable bond. It was sickening. I spent the rest of the night in a daze, replaying the messages and photos over and over in my head. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. I felt like I was drowning in a sea of betrayal. When Coralia returned from her conference, she acted like nothing was wrong. She smiled, hugged me, and asked about my week. I wanted to scream, to confront her with the evidence, but I couldn't bring myself to do it. I needed to gather my thoughts to figure out what to say. That night, I feigned exhaustion and went to bed early. I lay awake for hours, listening to Coralia's soft snores beside me. How could she be so calm, so normal after what she had done? The anger inside me began to simmer, slowly building into a boiling rage. The next morning, I decided to confront her. I waited until she was finished with her breakfast and was getting ready for work. "Coralia, we need to talk," I said, my voice trembling slightly. She turned to me, a look of mild surprise on her face. "What is it, Lionel? I'm running late." I took a deep breath and pulled out the burner phone. I tossed it onto the table in front of her. "Explain this," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. Her eyes widened as she recognized the phone. Her face paled and she stammered. "I don't know what you're talking about. Don't lie to me, Coralia," I said, my voice rising. "I saw the messages, I saw the photos, I know about Albin. How could you do this to me?" She burst into tears. "Lionel, I'm so sorry," she sobbed. It just happened. I didn't mean for it to go this far, it just happened, I repeated, incredulous. You went to Portland with him, you lied to my face. How can you say it just happened? She tried to explain, to justify her actions, but her words were meaningless. She said she was feeling neglected, that I was too focused on my work, that she needed attention, but none of it made sense. I had always tried to be a good husband, to support her, to love her unconditionally. How could she throw it all away for some fleeting affair? Who is he, Coralia? I asked, my voice heavy with pain. Who is Albin? She hesitated, then said, He's a colleague. We've been working closely together on a project, so that's it, a work fling, I scoffed. You risked our marriage, our life together, for a work fling? She didn't answer. She just sat there, sobbing, her head in her hands. I couldn't bear to look at her. The woman I had loved, the woman I had trusted, was a stranger to me. I want you to leave, I said, my voice cold and firm. I want you out of this house. I can't be with you anymore. She looked up, her eyes filled with shock and disbelief. Lionel, please don't do this, she begged. We can work through this. I promise I'll never see him again. But I had made up my mind. The trust was broken. The love was gone. I couldn't forgive her. I couldn't forget what she had done. It's over, Coralia, I said. Get out. She packed her bags and left that afternoon. As I watched her drive away, I felt a strange mix of emotion, sadness, anger, relief, and a profound sense of loss. My life as I knew it was over. The following weeks were a blur. I hired a lawyer, filed for divorce, and tried to navigate the emotional wreckage of my shattered marriage. I confided in my best friend, Josiah, who was supportive and understanding. You deserve better, Lionel, he said. Coralia didn't appreciate what she had. You're a good man and you'll find someone who does. But I wasn't so sure. The thought of trusting another woman, of opening my heart again, terrified me. I felt like I had been burned and the scars ran deep. One evening, Josiah suggested we go out for a drink to take my mind off things. We went to a local bar, a place I hadn't been to in years. As we were sitting at the bar, I noticed a woman sitting alone at a nearby table. She looked familiar, but I couldn't quite place her. She caught my eye and gave me a small, hesitant smile. I smiled back and she walked over to us. Lionel, she said, her voice soft and melodic. Is that you? I squinted, trying to remember where I had seen her before. I'm sorry, do I know you? I asked. My name is Bernice, she said. I'm Albin's wife. My heart skipped a beat. Albin's wife. What was she doing here? I don't know what to say, I stammered, feeling a wave of anger wash over me. Your husband destroyed my marriage. Bernice sighed and sat down at our table. I know, she said, her voice filled with sadness. He destroyed mine too. She explained that she had suspected Albin was having an affair for months, but she didn't have any proof. She had hired a private investigator who had confirmed her suspicions and provided her with evidence of his infidelity. I'm so sorry, Lionel, she said. I had no idea he was involved with your wife. If I had known, I would have done everything in my power to stop it. I looked at her, and I saw the same pain and betrayal in her eyes that I felt in my own heart. We were both victims of Albin's selfishness and deceit. We spent the rest of the evening talking, sharing our stories and finding solace in each other's company. We discovered that we had a lot in common: a love for literature, a passion for hiking, and a shared desire to rebuild our lives after being betrayed. As the weeks went by, Bernice and I grew closer. We started spending more time together, going for walks in the park, exploring local museums, and cooking dinner at each other's apartments. I found myself drawn to her warmth, her intelligence, and her resilience. One evening, as we were sitting on my couch watching a movie, I turned to her and said, Bernice, I know it's soon, but I think I'm falling in love with you. She smiled and took my hand. I think I'm falling in love with you too, Lionel, she said. I leaned in and kissed her, and it felt like the most natural thing in the world. It was as if we were meant to find each other, to heal each other's wounds, and to start a new chapter in our lives. But our happiness was short-lived. A few weeks later, I received a call from Coralia. She was distraught, her voice barely audible through the phone. Lionel, I need your help, she sobbed. I'm in trouble. I hesitated for a moment, then asked, What's wrong, Coralia? She explained that Albin had been involved in some shady business dealings at work, and she had inadvertently become entangled in his mess. He had been using her to cover up his illegal activities, and now the authorities were investigating. I didn't know what he was doing, Lionel, she cried. I swear I had no idea, but they think I was involved and they're threatening to press charges. I felt a pang of sympathy for her, despite everything she had done. She had been foolish, naive, and easily manipulated, but she didn't deserve to go to jail. "What do you want me to do, Coralia?" I asked. "I need you to talk to them, Lionel," she pleaded. "Tell them I didn't know anything. Tell them I was just a pawn in his game." I thought about it for a moment. Helping Coralia would mean getting involved in Albin's mess, potentially putting myself at risk. But I couldn't stand by and watch her life fall apart. "Okay, Coralia," I said. "I'll talk to them, but you need to tell me everything. Everything Albin was doing, everything you know." She agreed, and we spent the next few hours piecing together the puzzle of Albin's illegal activities. It turned out he had been embezzling money from the company, using shell corporations to launder the funds and falsifying documents to cover his tracks. With Coralia's information, I contacted the authorities and provided them with the evidence they needed to build a case against Albin. He was arrested a few days later and charged with multiple counts of fraud, embezzlement, and money laundering. Coralia was spared from prosecution, but her reputation was ruined. She lost her job, her friends, and her social standing. She was forced to move back in with her parents, a broken and humiliated woman. I felt a sense of satisfaction knowing that Albin was brought to justice, but I also felt a deep sadness for Coralia. She had made a terrible mistake, but she had paid the price for her actions. As for Bernice and me, we continued to grow closer, our love deepening with each passing day. We had both been through hell, but we had emerged stronger and more resilient. We knew that our relationship was built on a foundation of honesty, trust, and mutual respect, and we were determined to make it last. 1 year later, I stood on a beach in Hawaii, watching the sunset with Bernice by my side. I took her hand and looked into her eyes. "Bernice, will you marry me?" I asked. She smiled, tears streaming down her face. "Yes, Lionel," she said. "I will." As we embraced, I knew that I had finally found happiness again. The pain of the past was still there, but it had faded, replaced by a sense of hope and anticipation for the future. I had lost everything, but I had also gained something far more valuable: a second chance at love, with a woman who truly understood me and appreciated me for who I was. The rain had stopped, and the sun was beginning to peek through the clouds. It was a new day, a new beginning, and I was ready to face it with Bernice by my side. Life had thrown me a curveball, a betrayal that shattered my world. But in the end, it had also led me to something beautiful, something real, something that made all the pain worthwhile.